Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 for a Manchester City versus Real Madrid first leg of the Champions League semi-final preview. The big competition is back, the one Pep is desperate to get his hands on. Let's get into our thoughts. Right, Joe, we are into the semi-finals of the Champions League. Again, last year we got to the final, we failed that hurdle, but we are now within, theoretically, 3 games of winning the competition that Pep is clearly desperate to win. Obviously, we're in a fantastic Premier League title race with Liverpool. We're a point clear on that front, but this competition, let's have no doubts about it, is absolutely massive. And our opposition in this tie is the overall kings of Europe, really. 13-time winners Real Madrid. They've just knocked out Chelsea in a very exciting fashion, I must say. I watched both legs of that. The game in Stamford Bridge and the Bernabeu were fantastic. I'm going to put it out there. I think we are a much better team on paper than Real Madrid, and you can give your thoughts in a second. But we do have to bear in mind that they know this competition. They really know how to win this competition, even when they are, say, on paper underdogs. They're able to knock teams out that are in theory, better than them. And then they obviously have quite a few threats that can score goals, and they've got quite a few good midfielders, which we can talk about. Benzema, Vinicius, and Modric, even at 37 years old, is absolutely ripping it up. What are your thoughts going into this one, Joe? It's a very exciting one, and these are the kind of fixtures we want to be involved in as a fan base.
Yeah, I think I saw a quote from Rodri, I think it was from this morning when it came out, that he said that he thinks that City are a better team, but they have to prove it on the pitch, and he's exactly right. You can say about, the combined 11s and all this, and say that our players on paper are better, but, Real Madrid knows what it takes to reach a final. They know what it takes to win this competition. They've done it multiple times before. Their league campaign for them is much different to ours. Theirs is almost wrapped up. They've pretty much won it. I think they're like 1 win away or something, so they can really afford to now just go for the Champions League, which is something that we can't afford to do. We have to fight on both fronts still. So it'd be an interesting one. I don't know what he's going to do with defence. We have like 2 defenders or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm still very, very disappointed in Cancelo for getting himself suspended with that stupid yellow card, because we're without 2 right backs now essentially, and there's questions over is Stones going to be fit enough. I think they're going to do some warm-ups or some training tomorrow maybe and see if he's fit enough to play. That's up in the air, but I think not only is our defence shot to bits, I think Madrid's one weakness is their defence. You saw Chelsea go to the Bernabeu and score 3 goals. They scored 4th, but of course it was disallowed for handball. But again, it looks like we can genuinely get at that defence. Obviously, we have to still take our chances when they get them. It's a tale of who's defensively better, really, because they've got the star power. They've got Benzema and Vinicius. That duo is top quality, and they've proved it this season. So our possibly makeshift defence is going to have to watch out for that. And again, same with us, the way that we are so fluid with our attacks. We have an abundance of attacking players and quality. We've got players who are on top form at the minute. I think we can get at them, but this first leg is crucial. We have to win. This is our home leg. We have to win.
Real Madrid have overcome some pretty good teams in their route to get here, so we can't underestimate them. I mean, if we got them two rounds ago, I would have said, Real Madrid aren't going through a good phase as a club. I know they're doing well in the Liga, but there's not a lot of competition there. But they've just knocked out PSG and Chelsea in succession. They are clearly heavy hitters. They have players who can score quite a few goals, as proven by Benzema and Vinicius and other players. And it probably is a tale of 2 defences, because like you've kind of alluded to, I do think we can get at them. And with this first game being in the Etihad, I really think we have to be looking to hit them for 2 and 3. Our attackers are really going to have to be on form. And I'm not trying to be arrogant by saying that, but if we want to give ourselves the best chance possible and have any comfort going to the Bernabeu, we'd want to be putting 2 and 3 past them in the Etihad, because everybody knows who goes to the Bernabeu, no matter what sort of a team Real Madrid have in the Bernabeu, it is a really tough place to go. And it's really not ideal that we are essentially without all of our typical fullbacks. Cancelo suspended, Walker is for sure injured, and Stones didn't play against Watford. He didn't train today. It's he may come on as a precautionary thing. So it's going to be a massive test for Diaz and Laporte, who absolutely will play in keeping that back four compact. In terms of going forward, who would you like to see play, Joe, and who do you think is capable of playing a big game? Because we know Mahrez is a big game Champions League player. He has to play. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting another big game from him. I really think that he can get at the likes of Ferland Mendy. I think that, we often see Mahrez is doubled up a lot. Is Vinicius going to track back and actually help down that left-hand side with Mahrez? Is it going to have to be someone like Modric coming out of midfield to help? Is the centre-half going to have to shift over? I think we can really get out at them, because if they don't double Mahrez up, you'd back him to get past his man a couple times at least in the game. So it'll be interesting for the matchup. I think Sterling was on the press conference with Pep this afternoon, so I think that's kind of alluding towards he might play. Obviously, against Watford, he missed an absolute sitter, really. Let's be honest, his finishing isn't great, and his finishing hasn't really been great for a while, but he's going to have to be on it. He's going to have to take his chance. This is do or die stuff. He's got to be on his game, and obviously the big talking point is it has to be Gabriel Jesus. Like, as much as we don't find that he's consistent enough and he's not good enough in front of goal. He's just come off the back of scoring 4. Do you play him? Does he feature? I'd imagine he'd feature from the bench if we need a goal, as much as I disagree with it personally, because, again, no disrespect, it's Watford. You can only play who's in front of you, but it was Watford, team that we hit for 8 a couple of years ago. But, he's come off the back of 4. If he's going to have confidence, it's going to be now. And again, we say this all the time. He plays like R9 when his City career's on the line. He does. He turns up and starts scoring hat-tricks every week. And, it's the Arsenal effect, I guess. But it's an option. Again, that's where we seem to be most stacked at the moment in terms of fitness. We have abundance of players that can score goals. It's just, who do you play? I guess, Mahrez is probably the nailed-on one, for me at least anyway. He does turn up in the Champions League, similar to De Bruyne. Them two just seem to turn it on in the Champions League, so you should really be expecting them to be turning up.
I think also with Jesus is, I don't know if people take these sort of things into consideration, maybe you should, is that Jesus has a good record against Real Madrid. I mean, last time he played against Real Madrid, did he score on both legs? I'm almost certain he did. And that got us through that tie. We have a good record, a good recent record against Real Madrid. And the thing is, the hunger will probably bid us sky high. This is obviously a massive tie, and if we were to get to a final, it would be a massive tie against most likely Liverpool. The hunger will be at a sky high, and I think there's almost a different look about City in the Champions League this year than there is in the Premier League. It looks like in the Premier League, we've been here before, we know what we're doing, we know how to get there, we know how to get it over the line. But with the Champions League, it just looks like we're out and out being ruthless. I mean, we saw a completely different side to City in that second leg against Atletico Madrid that we're used to seeing in the Premier League, a team that can show grit and grind out a result, which is something we never really have to do. So it's going to be an interesting tie, and I've mentioned it already. I think we're going to have to score definitely more than 1 in the Etihad and hope they don't score to give ourselves the best chance in the Bernabeu, because I think the Bernabeu tie will be an extremely tough one. But it's going to be a very exciting game. We're looking forward to it. We're going to do a watch along for it, so do come along and join us. But before that, we're going to do our predicted starting 11. So let's get over to that now and see who we think should play against Real Madrid. Okay, our predicted starting 11 is up on screen for you to see right now. As always, do get involved down below in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on our predicted starting 11 and give us your predicted starting 11. Anyone you would like to see, anyone you would not like to see. In goals, we have gone with Ederson as always. Unfortunately for Zach Steffen, he's not close to playing these big games as he's proven a couple times this season. Good keeper, but Ederson is the one. Crucial to all our build-up play. And whilst we do not have fullbacks available who are maybe as technically as good as Walker and Cancelo, when you have a technically good goalkeeper like Ederson, it's a huge asset in these big games. So we've gone with Ederson in goals, as always. In left back, due to Cancelo's suspension and due to Kyle Walker's injury, we are left with either Zinchenko or Ake. I know Ake got a bit of a knock recently. I don't know what his fitness is like, but Zinchenko is he's a trusty player. I know he hasn't played a huge amount of football this season, but he's still a player who can come in and do a decent job. And if he's on form, I would have decent confidence in him to do an okay job. So I have no issues with Zinchenko playing. And he was big in our Champions League campaign last season. Centre halves, it has to be Laporte and Diaz. Obviously, Kyle Walker's injury and Stones is carrying a bit of a knock as well. So we're left with Diaz and Laporte. Diaz, even though he should not be sharp and fit, he still brings a massive air of calmness and confidence into the team. So just his presence alone on the pitch is absolutely, instrumental in the mindset and psychology of our team putting in a good performance against Real Madrid tomorrow night. And likewise with Laporte, he's been one of our most informed players all season, and he's held down that position pretty well all season. So I have full faith. In right back, you'll see an image of Scott Carson there. Why, you ask? It's because we haven't a clue who's going to play right back. Pep has confirmed it won't be Gabriel Jesus. But Joe, I know you got a theory on this. Do you want to give your right back theory and give us your thoughts on that back four in general?
Just to touch on the rest of the back four, I think what else can you really do? You're not going to shove Stefan in there because that'd be utterly ridiculous. And with Ake, he came on against Watford for like 20 minutes, half an hour. But again, I think Zinchenko had a very good game. I think that he should retain his place just purely and simply because he's more fit. Ake's coming off that knock. Do you risk him? You can't risk him with the amount of defensive injuries we already have. You cannot risk him, even if he's got some minutes under his belt since he picked up that knock. You can't risk him. Zinchenko's more than good enough. Again, he got an assist against Watford, so I think he came into it a bit more, especially after that Liverpool game when he was a bit poor. I think he's suitably warmed up. But the thing is with Carson at right back, genuinely, who do you go with? If it's Egan Riley, I will be absolutely amazed and also terrified at the prospect of Vinicius Jr. running at him, because that is not a sort of thing that I want. Walker is out. I think in my mind he's 100% out. He's not going to play at all. The thing is with Stones, in my opinion, is he's still a doubt, but in my mind, I don't know whether they just rested him and took him out of training for precautionary reasons. We know his injury history is horrific. He just seems to always pick up injuries. Started this season. Last season he was okay, but seasons before that he was rarely available. So it could just be a case of them going, both of our right fullbacks who are normally playing there, they're not available. And Stones is the only one left, so let's protect him a little bit and make sure he's ready for Madrid. Maybe it's that, but genuinely, I do not know. I was looking forward to seeing Gabriel Jesus at right back, to be honest, considering he played left back the last time we played Real Madrid, but no, Pep's kind of squashed that rumour, so I don't know.
Completely forgot Jesus played left back against Real Madrid. Sorry, this guy's crazy. But it's gonna be a tough battle for this back four that we've chosen. That we think it'll be Zinchenko, Laporte, Diaz, and Joe thinks maybe John Stones. Hopefully not Egan Riley. No disrespect to him, I just don't think he's ready to go make the jump from Wickham up to Real Madrid just yet. So it'll be an interesting one to see who Pep does go with. Moving into midfield, Rodri. It has to be Rodri. I don't think Fernandinho is up to these kind of ties anymore, at least not starting them anyway. So Rodri's trusty. He's a good player. Rodri's been relatively consistent this season, and I think this is a massive game for him. Obviously, his former local rival Real Madrid when he was with Atletico Madrid. Hopefully, he'll take some of that ruthlessness and passion into this tie for us. And just in front of him, we've gone with, I think, the two players it simply has to be. Gundo is not really fit, and he hasn't been for a long time. And it's not because he picked up an individual knock and he's coming back from it. He has an ongoing back injury, and we only discovered that recently, and that's kind of why he can't play every week, and he's struggling to find form, most likely because of that. Bernardo and De Bruyne, but even if Gundo was fit, I think Bernardo and De Bruyne still would have been these players, because Madrid have a relatively old midfield in Modric and Kroos and whoever else plays there as well. I can't remember his name. Bernardo's energy and De Bruyne's technical ability and his energy and pace will be absolutely huge in overpowering the Madrid midfield. I think, as we always say on this channel, if you win the midfield battle, you're well on your way to winning the tie or the game. And I think we should, on paper, have the beatings of their midfield just through our energy and the pace we play football. I think where they really cause trouble is their front three. And if you let their midfield play, they will cause trouble. But we should be able to overpower that. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, again, we say this a lot. You win the midfield battle, you win the game. Bernardo Silva, again, his energy, his just the amount of ground he covers up. Modric is top tier, one of the best midfielders probably ever, if we're going to be honest. But he's 37. There's a big chance that if he's sprinting around for 90 minutes, will he do it again in the second leg? I don't know. Obviously, he got that fantastic assist against Chelsea, so he's still got a lot of quality that can really unlock a defence. So again, we have to be careful. We can't just, we can't be sloppy with our passing. I think with Rodri, he has to play from now on until the end of the season. Obviously, Fernandinho got that one start against Watford. This double pivot reared its head again. it worked, but again, we can't have Fernandinho in the big games anymore. You saw it against Liverpool in that semi-final. He lost his head completely. He almost got himself sent off. Probably should have got himself sent off. He can't really be trusted in the big games anymore. Just in case he loses his head, he can't keep up with the pace. So I think it has to be Rodri. The two midfielders in front of him, they're on form, they're firing. Gundogan, it's unfortunate, but he's been given a couple of opportunities recently. He just hasn't taken them. That's down to him. He's really got to prove that he should be in this team. I think it could be suited to having all three of them in there. We saw it against Atletico Madrid, having the three of them and moving one a bit further forward. But I think, again, you've got to go for this game. You have to win this game. You have to try and get a couple of goals, a little bit of a cushion to take to the away leg. So I think you've just kind of got to go for it and have an extra forward instead of an extra midfielder. But you know, De Bruyne's started to turn it on so far in the last sort of 5-6 games that he's played. So hopefully he can continue, and he's the guy that you look at and goes, he normally performs in the Champions League.
I really do believe, and no disrespect to Modric or Kroos, absolutely, world-class players and have been for such a long time. But I think, the midfields they played against recently have obviously been good, very good Champions League midfields. But I believe that if our midfield is on form, they won't be able to cope with it. If our midfield brings the correct energy and the correct intensity, they won't be able to cope with it. Once again, no disrespect to them. I just trust Bernardo and De Bruyne particularly to just dictate that midfield. I really do. And if they do dictate that midfield, we will win this game. And if they do it in Bernabeu as well, we will win this tie. I fully believe that. Moving to the front three, this was a tough one, obviously, with Jesus just off the back of scoring 4 goals against Watford. It's pretty hard to not pick him, having done that. And, he scored a goal against Liverpool in the Premier League as well, not so long ago. So you could say he's doing well, and Joe alluded to it earlier on. When his City career is on the line, he seems to turn into an absolute machine, or 9, I think you said it was. So I don't know, and like I also said, he's got a good record against Real Madrid. But we went with, just to completely contradict ourselves, we went with Foden on the left, Sterling through the middle, which is not something I ever like doing, and then Mahrez on the right. Mahrez and Foden I have no issue with. We know for a fact Mahrez is a big game player. We know for a fact Mahrez is a Champions League big game player. He seems to always turn up when you need him in the Champions League. And Foden is just one of those players that, playing a big game, you want him on the pitch. He's capable of doing anything. He could give the fullbacks for Real Madrid an awful night. With Sterling, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe he could play Jesus through the middle now that he's scored 4 goals and not start Sterling. But Sterling's also quite a big game player. He's a lot of experience, and he's been on the whole Champions League journey with City over the last 5-6 years. It's a tough one, but we've gone with Sterling through the middle reluctantly. Joe, what are your thoughts on this front three? I think the 2 boys in the wings are okay, but there's a bit of a decision there for Pep as to who he wants to play through the middle. Could even be Grealish, who knows?
I think the 2 wingers are pretty much nailed on. Neither of them played against Watford. I think Mahrez came on, but bar that, none of them started, at least to my knowledge anyway, unless I'm missing something. So they should be fresh, they should be ready to go. Big players, big game players, they change games, they win you games. We're going to need them. Sterling is... I've given him the benefit of the doubt in the team selection, considering he's on the press conference. Normally, whoever's on the press conference usually plays, usually starts the game. Not always the case. I remember one time, I think it was last year, Zinchenko mentioned the word quadruple or treble and then got hooked for the next game. So, it never always works. But I think I've put him down the middle because that's where he's been playing recently. We're not fans of it particularly. It doesn't work, in my opinion. In a lot of people's opinion, it doesn't work. But that's where he's been deployed. And again, whoever's playing in that false 9 role doesn't seem to have a great time, whoever it is. It takes something away from someone's game. So it's just, you got to pick your poison, pick who you want to maybe be slightly subpar in a role that doesn't suit them. And it seems that Pep's favoured Sterling recently. Again, he could go Jesus because he is off the back of 4 goals. But again, the jump from Watford in 19th to Real Madrid is massive. But again, he's turned up against Real Madrid in the past. So it is an option. It is something to keep your eye on. Obviously, they were a much changed defence from Ramos and Varane to Alaba and Militao or whoever it is. I think there's a bit of mind games going on from both teams, obviously, with our injuries and their injuries. There was, I think, a week or 2 ago, Benzema was being asked to be taken off at half time for like precautionary reasons, and everyone was going, "Oh, is he injured?" Of course not. Of course not. We're in mind game season now. Everyone's trying to play tricks on each other, get the upper hand. So, I think this will be the front 3, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if Jesus features at some point. I think he will, especially if we need a goal.
You know what? I think me and you unanimously agree, and we always do, that we don't want Jesus to play. And if you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know myself and Joe, we're not really fans of Jesus. I know that can be controversial at times because Jesus has his fans, but I think with it being, his career on the line, and we can kind of agree that when his career is on the line at City, he seems to turn up. Maybe deploy him. Say go fight for your career against Real Madrid, and he might just go and bag a hat trick or a brace or something along those lines. It's an interesting one. I think regardless, though, it's a pretty strong team. Obviously, the real concerns are the full-back positions. I have no issues with any other selection we've gone with throughout the pitch. It's the full-back situations, left and right. I mean, Zinchenko, I've no issue with him playing, but he's not the one I'd want to play. And obviously, we would love to have had Kyle Walker in that right full-back position because Vinicius is a pace merchant, and Kyle Walker is probably the only one in Europe off the top of my head in terms of full-backs that can match him or at least give him a good game at pace. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a very interesting battle. Get down below in the comments and give us your thoughts on this starting 11. I think we've explained why we chose each player as best as possible. And before we wrap it up, it's time to do my favourite part of any preview, Joe. It's score predictions. As always, give me your prediction and give me someone you think is going to score.
I think a 2-1 win. Get the win in the first leg. Crucial. We need it. And I'm going to go for De Bruyne goal. I think Champions League, he just turns up. It's been a while since I've sang his praises, to be fair, but he deserves it. I think the last time I predicted a goal score, it was Rodri, and he's got his goal now, so I think that's done for the end of the season now. But I think De Bruyne will get one, and hopefully we'll win. I'm saying 2-1, but realistically, if they score, I think 3 is ideal for us. Get that 2 goals.
2-1 from Joe. I'm going to go with 3-1 City. I think it'll be hard. Think about it. I think it'll be hard to silence Benzema for 90 minutes, even though I have great faith in Diaz and Laporte doing so. But he's just that good, Benzema, isn't he? So I'm going to say 3-1. And Joe, I'm not going to say Jack Grealish. If you're a viewer of the channel for a while, I always predict Jack Grealish to score. And he got his goal the other week against, who was it? I don't even remember now, but he got his goal. Liverpool in the FA Cup. I'm going to go with 3-1 City and a Mahrez goal based off the fact that he is a Champions League big game player, is Riyad Mahrez, the Algerian king. 3-1 from me, and I think 3-1 would probably be the best result going to the Bernabeu. We want to win, at least going to the Bernabeu the following week, but 3-1 would be a very good one because Real Madrid are really chasing the game next week and we can expose gaps in behind at that stage. But we'll talk about that in the preview for next week, hopefully in a positive manner. So get down below in the comments yourselves. Let us know your score predictions and tell us who you think might score. Who is going to turn up? Who's going to put their hand up and make history for the club, make a name for themselves? Hopefully, if one of them or a few of them can do it, because this is... I'm getting sick waiting for this trophy. I want this trophy badly, but it is exciting at the same time. So get down below in the comments to give us your preview thoughts, how you feel about the game, predicted 11 scores, all that good stuff. We're doing a watch along tomorrow night for this game, so do come along and watch us live. Get in the chats, give us your thoughts as we're watching the game. We'll give you our thoughts too. It's absolutely destined to be an exciting one, if it's to be anything like Real Madrid's previous games. Leave a like in the video if you would as well. It helps us massively, and subscribe if you're new. We're currently on the road to 2.5k, 2.5 thousand of you people. Exciting times, so do that. It will be massively appreciated. Hopefully see you tomorrow night for a live watch along. Good night and God bless.